Welcome back, Soulmates, on this first day of Black History Month. Just in case you're just joining us, let's get back into the top stories for the day. As three men known in the city as musicians have been missing for weeks, Armani Kelly, Dante Wicker, and Montoya Givens were supposed to perform at a lounge on Detroit's east side. This was back on January 21st. The event was canceled, and then their phones just went dead, like late on the 21st or early on the 22nd. No one has heard from them since. Detroit police are still investigating, and we'll definitely continue to follow this story as we get updates. Moving on here, meanwhile, the Memphis Police Department has fired yet another officer related to the death of Tyree Nichols, bringing the count of terminated officers now to 7. The Memphis Police Department has not released the officer's name, nor would they specify the role this particular officer played in the incident. Yesterday, a 6th officer, Preston Hempel, was suspended, as of now has not been charged with a crime. And to Missouri now, where Congresswoman Cori Bush is demanding that the state put a pause on the execution of Leonard Raheem Taylor. Back in 2008, he was convicted in Missouri of a quadruple murder, but he has always maintained his innocence. Representative Bush tweeted this week that despite significant evidence of his innocence, the 58-year-old is scheduled to be executed by lethal injection on February 7th. And new research shows that the IRS uses its auditing power more on Black taxpayers than anyone else. That's according to Stanford University. Researchers, they say Black taxpayers receive IRS audit notices at least 2.9 times and perhaps as much as 4.7 times more often than non-Black taxpayers. Researchers also say the disparity is unlikely to be intentional on the part of the IRS staff, but rather driven by a set of internal IRS algorithms that are completely secret. The Quarterly, over to you.
Thank you, Courtney. Now off to Haiti, where the Justice Department charged 4 men for the assassination of the slain Haitian president. Christian Sanon was charged with smuggling ballistic vests for his private military. James Solanges, Joseph Vincent, and German Alejandro Riviera Garcia were charged with conspiring to commit murder and kidnapping outside the United States. The men planned the regime change in Haiti and acquired weapons and equipment. Solanges, Vincent, and Riviera participated in the assassination plan, and the slain president was killed the very next day. Solanges, Vincent, and Riviera face life in prison, while Sanon faces 20 years. The 4 men will appear in court on Wednesday in Miami. 3 other men are in custody on related charges.
And the U.S. migration program announced it's putting pressure on Haitians here in the U.S. who are expected to help family and friends escape Haiti's escalating violence. Many Haitians in the U.S. already struggling financially are being sought after by family members and acquaintances, but finding willing sponsorship is difficult due to the rising cost of living and soaring rents here in the U.S. President Biden opened a new legal pathway for migrants from 4 countries, including Haiti, who have U.S. sponsors. However, the program is also attached to bad policies and being used to deter people from seeking asylum at the U.S.-Mexico border.
Around 22 million people across Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia face hunger as the worst drought in 40 years grips the Horn of Africa. The UN reports that 12 million in Ethiopia, nearly 6 million in Somalia, and over 4 million in Kenya are acutely food insecure. Climate change, conflict in Ukraine, and a locust invasion have made conditions dire. Aid groups warn the situation will worsen, with famine expected in southern Somalia between April and June. 2 million children need treatment for malnutrition, and almost 3 million have stopped going to school. Only 55.5% of the UN's $5.9 billion request to tackle the crisis has been funded. And, Courtney, this is, an example of climate change. It doesn't just affect us here in the United States. It obviously affects folks around the world. And so while folks in my old stomping ground in California have been receiving a lot of rain and a lot of precipitation, it's been quite the opposite in places like Kenya and Somalia and Ethiopia. And, this is sort of, the world as we know it today. And I think a lot of folks are just having to adjust and respond to this.
Yeah, I've always thought of it maybe as, some of these weather events as unexplained phenomena until, there were studies and research that's saying, no, as humans, we are affecting the climate, and we have a little blaming of ourselves to do with these very drastic weather events. And I just find it so ironic how one part of the world needs water. The other part of the world needs to dry up a bit. I know here in the U.S., a lot of the flooding has been, just horrendous. There's times here in the U.S. when, you've got wildfires that need rain, and yet people on the other side of the country are being rained out. So in that sense, it remains a mystery. But as far as what we can do as a human race to better take care of and look after Mother Earth, we really need to tap into now more so than ever, because these events are becoming more and more frequent and more catastrophic.
I think you're right, and it's just another reminder that we are more interconnected than we've ever been. And so, the locusts that they're experiencing in that part of Africa and some of the other conditions, we're not immune to that. It doesn't take much for a heat wave, or a weather event to make its way to our shores as well. And so we're interconnected, and I think humanitarian work is going to become all the more important as we figure out how to adjust to this change in climate.
That's right. All right. Black History Month is here, whether some folks want to receive that or not. And in celebration of Black History Month, Yahoo is reimagining its logo. The tech giant has commissioned Aaliyah Holmes, an award-winning American and Canadian illustrator, along with artist Trap Bob, for the task. Trap Bob, a Washington-based artist, stated, "We make Black history all year, but Black History Month is a time of celebration and reminder to us all of the work, the extensive work and accomplishments of the Black community." The Washington, D.C.-based artist went on to say that. Now, the logo will be featured all month long, of course, and I'm looking forward to catching it. Nicole, I haven't seen it just yet, besides right here on the TV screen there.
You and me both.
Yeah.
Now, in the world of college football, the College Football Hall of Fame has teamed up with Chick-fil-A, Kia, and Coca-Cola to recognize African-American heroes and trailblazers of the game during Black History Month. Beginning February 2nd, the museum will have digital exhibits with artifacts of African-American players, coaches, teams, and institutions who have contributed to college football, making it what it is today. Coca-Cola will also be awarding the first 250 college students with free access to the Hall of Fame throughout February. A college ID is required, soulmates. The exhibit will be on display until February 27th.
And keeping Black history news going, a California school district has decided to fly the Black Lives Matter flag to kick off Black History Month. The district posted on its official Twitter account, quote, "In honor of Black History Month, San Diego Unified students from across the district will raise the Black Lives Matter flag to signify our shared commitment to creating a just, equitable, and empathetic world." The district is known for supporting Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ pride, and transgender movements. What a bold, in this climate, what a bold move. In my opinion, an appropriate move, and a move that is welcomed, I'm sure, by many.
Yeah, I mean, and yay to the San Diego Unified School District, for leading with this. There are a number of school districts across the state of California that are beginning to do this, if they haven't already been doing it. And I think there are a lot of folks from traditionally marginalized communities, historically marginalized communities, that believe this was the right thing to do years ago, right? And so, we're seeing folks sort of catch up to where public sentiment is. There's never been more public support when you look at polls and things, for LGBTQ rights, for women's rights, for racial justice. Even though we see so many examples in the news of forces out there that are pushing back against these things. And so it's good to see that the San Diego Unified School District is taking a step forward. And I might remind you that San Diego, it's a big military town, right? There's a huge naval base there. There are a lot of military families there.
Very diverse community.
You know, it has historically been sort of, it leans more Republican in California. And so I think it makes a very bold statement at a time where we see similar places across the country that are doing quite the opposite.
And then for them to specifically use the black flag, the Black Lives Matters flag specifically, I think that also speaks to, you know, how they want to keep that message clean and clear as to what is being recognized. So I also think that's a good point to make as well. And then San Diego has great weather, from what I gather. Some of the best weather in the country.
It sure does. It sure does. Great beaches.
Yeah, man.
Road trip.
Okay, let's do it.
While we're at it, we may want to stop by Bethune-Cookman, where Bethune-Cookman Athletic Director Reggie Theus has broken his silence on the controversy around Ed Reed's contract negotiations falling through. In an interview with HBCU Game Day, Theus said he advocated for Reed to be the head coach. However, Theus voiced his concerns over Reed's viral video that slammed the school, saying he was shocked at the behavior, but said Reed was aware of the challenges at the HBCU, including there not being enough lockers for players. Theus went on to say that Reed let them down because he showed Reed everything good and bad with the program, so there was no need for him to act shocked. That's what he said.
Yeah, I was a little shocked to know that Reggie Theus was the athletic director. I loved watching him play on the court and did a little acting as well. Very interesting.
Where he been?
All right, staying with collegiate news here, the College Board revised its official curriculum for the advanced placement course in African American Studies after facing criticism from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and conservatives. The changes remove Black Lives Matter, queer experience, and Black feminism, but include Black conservatism. The College Board says the changes were for educational reasons and not political pressure. Topics such as slavery and civil rights remain largely unchanged, but contemporary topics are downgraded and offered only as options for research projects. The revised curriculum can be adjusted by local states and districts.
A recent move by the board members at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill has many faculty members shocked. The board unanimously passed a resolution to accelerate the creation of a School of Civic Life and Leadership. The initiatives are expected to be initiated and led by academics. The resolution requested that the administration work to develop a school with a dedicated faculty team that would promote public discourse. However, many conservatives say this is a way to create a safe space for right-leaning thinkers on a campus full of leftists. Courtney, we can't act like these two stories are not related because they are.
What say ye?
And I think the folks, right? She knows
this
gets me going.
This is your thing.
This gets me going. This gets me going. As you know, just as an educator. I continue to be really dismayed about what's happening in Florida. Not surprised, the least bit, but dismayed. And I think they're really showing their hand. The fact that they eliminated Black feminism, Black queer theory from the curriculum in the AP African American Studies class, but they replaced it with Black conservatism, right? Why can't we have all of the above? One of the things that we talk about on this show time and time and time
Shall we say it
again is
together?
that Black people are not a monolith. And the more that folks out there, try to pick and choose, different aspects of
what it means to be Black.
What it means to be Black, right? I think everybody loses when that happens. And so this is an important fight. This is a good fight that's happening in Florida, because what's happening in Florida is happening in this country, and it's happening around the world.
It's a good fight, good trouble. And my hope is that fight continues until, there is complete and equal representation. We were just talking about this yesterday, and, why such a debate, again, when it comes to our history and it not being seen and deemed and valued as American history. Why come, I couldn't maybe have an elective choice of maybe a James Baldwin class, maybe over a Shakespeare, because Shakespeare was required in my high school AP studies. So, you know, not having that the variety and kind of looking back on that, it makes you shake your head about what wasn't available at that time. I was just going with what, you know, I knew I had to take to come up out of high school and the requirements. But looking back on that, there should have been more of a variety for me to choose from my particular culture. And so I hope the fight continues.
Yeah.
The good fight continues.
I hope so too. And you just reminded me of something. You know, in high school, I took AP US History with one of the only black teachers I ever had, K through 12. It was my sophomore year in high school. I took AP US History, and I'm, you know, as I'm reading more and more about what's in this curriculum and what's not in this curriculum, and steeped in what this fight is all about, I think about what difference it would have made for me in high school having an AP African American history class offered. And so this is good trouble, as you said, and we're going to keep our eye on it.
That's right.
Still ahead, Nelson Mandela's granddaughter is setting the record straight when it comes to Harry and Meghan. We'll explain.
Plus, a pricey purchase. Find out how much LeBron James's jersey went for at a recent auction. You're watching Fox Soul's Black Report.